evening.
We're
We are
live.
back.
We
Well, I say
are.
we're back. I'm back. You've always been here. I don't think you've left, Paul, have you?
No, I mean, I'm back in my comfort zone today.
Yeah, that's true. You're not having to host for once, are you?
I know. No, from last week being at AAC and having to take my kit there and everything else, and was my microphone going to work and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff. But
You done well, though, mate. It was good.
thank you. Yeah, I was pleased how it went. Actually,
It's something different as well. It's a bit different from what we usually do, isn't it? So, yeah, it seemed to be very well received anyway from everyone I've seen.
I think so. Yeah, considering it was in the middle of the summer holidays, and the viewing figures were good, the feedback was good. Paul had loads of messages and stuff like that, and I had a few. So I was really pleased how it went, actually.
I mean, we spoke about this before. It's summertime. People are out. They're not wanting to sit inside and watch a YouTube live stream on a Friday night. They want to be sitting in the garden, having a few beers, a barbecue, whatever. So, we appreciate everybody that does join in. So,
absolutely.
So I should probably just apologise and say I've been absent for a while. Quite a lot going on. So back now and hopefully get back into the swing of things again. Tanks are all still running, as you can see. Slight changes. I think I lost 2 torch corals in total. I was working away from home for a while, so I was actually away during all the heat wave and so on, which made it a bit difficult. But luckily, I can't remember what it was. I think I only went up by about 0.6 of a degree or maybe 0.8. I can't remember what it was at the time, but it didn't go up massively, to be fair. Saying that, I'm in the room tonight and roasting outside, and it's probably going to end up setting off the temperatures in the tanks because I'm sitting in here now. But we'll see how we get on. But so I think that's been, I'm not sure the last live stream I was on. I think it's been a few months anyway. And I've not done a video for a long time. I'm sure when I checked earlier, it said 80 days since my last video. So I'm not really hitting my weekly targets that I set out. But yeah, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to, maybe not weekly videos, but I'll get back to posting regular videos anyway.
It is, I mean, to actually do what you did in terms of every week, you did a video from week 1 to what was that, 16 months roughly?
Yeah, probably around about a year and a half, I think, mate, around about that. So it was, and I don't think, to my knowledge, I missed a week.
I don't think you did. Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely, I wouldn't say it was difficult because I was enjoying it. I really enjoyed doing it. It was one of those things that, it was just part of when I was doing some of the tank, I'll make a video. If there's something I can help with, I'll do it. And then I had a lot of things went on personal life, so I had to deal with that. And that's where it all just kind of ground to a halt because I just did not have time to do anything or the want to do it. So yeah, but disappointing, but I'm back anyway. So yeah, we'll hopefully get back to more regular content anyway. But tanks are doing okay. I haven't really done much with the new tank, to be honest with you. It's cycled, done all right actually. Added a few just kind of tester corals. I've got some Fragrax Rizoas and things in them, and a couple of cheap hammer corals that I got. Just really to see how they get on. And yeah, that's really been it. Other than that, I haven't touched the little tank other than to do the odd water change. I've not been doing weekly water changes. I lost 2 torches, and believe it or not, it was the 2 cheapest torches that I had. So I had 2 torches that I bought for probably about £20 each at the time, I think. The more expensive ones are all surviving, thriving, doing quite well. The 2 cheap ones died. Can't explain why. I've absolutely no reason. It was running at the time, just after the hot weather. I had neglected the tank for quite a while at that point, so there could be a whole host of different factors that caused them to die. I do not know. So I'll never know what that was. But other than that, everything's doing well. Believe it or not, the little Pico tank I have not touched. I haven't done water changes. I haven't done anything with it. Now there is only mushrooms in there, a Kenya tree, and some zoas and a bit of GSP, and they're all doing relatively well for not having touched it. I mean, I literally have not done anything to that tank, and it seems to be okay. I think I've avoided the heat that a lot of people have suffered with such a small tank, but I do seem to have avoided, plus the fact I live in Scotland, which helps. But it seems to have been doing all right. So that's a brief, quick update on where we're at anyway. But yeah, we're getting there. And big change for you, policy, is that your tank shrunk.
Yeah, so I did actually close it down by the end of June, which I said I was going to do, and Jay and no one else believed me.
I
So
didn't
that
believe you, to be honest. I was a disbeliever on that one.
I just decided what was good. I was going away, so I made a decision. I wanted to do it before I went away,
Yeah,
and because it would be less maintenance, and so it was good. Otherwise, if I wasn't going away, I'm not too sure I would have done it. And then obviously I got rid of it, and then I came back from holiday, and then I bought that. So it wasn't long. And then today it's got water in it, or last night. So I filled it up yesterday, or
looking
last
good,
night.
mate.
And so I did it differently. I actually, because the tap is just outside the window there,
Yeah,
I just run the RO straight in. So it's only RO at the moment. So I've
yeah,
never done that before. I've always done made the water, then put the salt in, and then put the salt in the tank. And I thought, let's do it a different way. So we'll see. I'm assuming it'll be okay that tomorrow, because it's warm enough out,
yeah.
I'll be able to just throw the salt in. I know roughly how much to put in there. It's only 100 litres, so I know that's kind of X number of cupfuls of sand,
Yeah.
salt. So that will go in tomorrow. And then once that goes in, a prawn will go in Sunday, and the lights will go off. So at the moment, the lights are just running just for effect, really, more than anything else. So the lights will then go off for 8 weeks.
So you're going for an old school cycle then, Paul, are you?
Yeah, so it's not just a cycle, because cycling the tank is no big deal.
Yeah.
Because you just put the prawn in, 3 or 4 weeks later, it's done, if not before. But what I want to do is what I did on the other tank, which was got to put a little bit of live rock in, got to put some sand in from the other tank. And then I'm going to start throwing some copepods and all kinds of things in there to get it going. So it'll be kind of sand from another tank, some rock from another tank, copepods, brine shrimp, some phytoplankton. Jay sent me some of that mud. You know, that mud he sings from the roof about. So I've got some of that.
Yeah.
He sent me through a pot of that. So I'm going to put some of that in there, and then turn it off. And I've actually bought, I don't think I've got it, I bought a Salifert ammonia kit. I have not used ammonia kit since my very first tank. And I must have done at least 5 different tanks since then in different guises. And I've never used ammonia because I just have a long cycle. But I want to do it and then see what it's like, and then obviously do a video of it to see how long it takes without conditions and stuff like that. But I didn't have to buy a nitrate kit because I've got the Red Sea nitrate, and it doubles as a nitrite and nitrate. So you do both at the same time. So I didn't buy it deliberately for that, but actually it's worth doing, because once you do that once, you probably never use that nitrite again. So the fact it's both really helps, because it's 3 part, and for the nitrite you only use 2, and for nitrate you use 3. So it's a bit of a waste on one of them. But so I bought it. I mean, the Salifert's only what, 10 quid, which for test kit's pretty good. And then of course,
I used Saliferts when I was cycling, and I used them this time when I was cycling. The first time I used the API test kit one, but when I've done this one, I used the Saliferts, and they work perfectly for me, to be fair. Yeah,
because your API video does really well, doesn't it? The number of views you've got on that video.
Again, it's the fact that API is quite big in America, and a lot of my views come from the American market. So I think that's probably where, I don't know if the API kit's as popular here in the UK. I'm not entirely sure. But
I don't think they are.
I had freshwater tanks in the boat, it was always API. That was API everything that I used for freshwater tanks. Then when I came into the saltwater world, it was like almost as if people had turned their nose up at them, and I thought, have I done the wrong thing here? I didn't know. So I tried it, and it worked for what I needed. And actually comparing them, there's not much difference. I think the key thing is to just pick a test kit and stick with that one.
Yeah.
You know, if you chop and change between API, Salifert, going to the HANA checkers, you're going to get different results. There's no way around that. But if you just stick with one, you'll get
a consistent result. Other than, I keep on seeing more and more people talking about the HANA alkalinity. I think it's the ALK, where the reagents go off, and therefore they're getting really wobbly results. I know. I think we spoke about it ages and ages ago. I think Jay was talking. I mean, all 3 of you was talking about it, because I think all 3 of you used the reagent.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, and have you got to use it within 28 days of something giving it opening, or have I just made that up?
Yeah, so basically on the back of it, it's got an expiry date here. So this one's August 2023. So this has got a year. But I'm 99.9% sure that I read somewhere that once opened, you've got to use it within a month. And I'm pretty sure I've seen other videos and so on this as well. So this one's still in cellophane packet, as you'll see, because I haven't opened it yet.
Yeah.
The point where I thought, I'm going to keep this until I really need it, and then I'll open it. But yeah, there's just something, I don't know if not agree is not the right word, but I just feel like it's a bit of a con that you buy that and then you do a couple of tests, and who's going to use that whole bottle within the space of a month? Realistically, you're going to test once, twice a week, maybe more, but you're not going to test much more than that, I don't think. And
most people do, I think, probably once a week. Those that have got SPS, that or higher end stuff, or that are more sensitive, probably will do it more often. Not everyone, but yeah, I wouldn't do more than once a week unless I think I've got a problem or I'm trying to increase it or decrease it. Or if I've got a problem, then I will do that just so I can see how it's going up. But then I'll do it every couple of days. So so there's a lot of chat in there about temperature, which is unsurprisingly. I mean, my temperature on my tank said, I still can't believe it, 27 degrees today. So I haven't done anything. I haven't put any ice in or frozen ice, and yet it's been an hour ago. It was 32 degrees out. So I still got this big differential between my tank in the garage that has the sun on it all day and the temperature outside. So I've been really surprised that it hasn't gone above 27. It'll probably go up a little bit more in the next couple of hours, because I seem to find it goes up between about 6 o'clock in the evening and 10. It gets more humid. That's what I.
So with mine anyway, today was a really warm day. Well, I felt really warm anyway. I think it was up round about 25, 26 for us, which is quite warm up here. And as it stands just now, this little tank is at 25.6, which is what it sits at normally.
Yeah.
And the bigger tank is at 25.6 as well. So the two of them are at exactly the same temperature just now. And to be fair, the little tank, I've got the two. They're not the DD fans, or the cheap Chinese ones, the Boyu ones. Remember, we've been through this before.
Yeah.
There's two of them on the back of that. You can't see it. It's just out of shot. And they sit and just blow. So on the return chamber where the filter floss is, they blow on that. And that seems to keep it really, really well controlled. The temperature will start to creep up a bit, and then they kick in and bring it back down. The big tank, I don't have any fans in it at all. Now, I did struggle with the heat wave that we had a few weeks back. And I say struggle, it didn't go up by much, but it rose a little bit. And all I'd done was actually open the sump door and just pointed a little fan at the sump, and it seemed to bring it down, no problem at all. I did put some RO water in some bottles, freeze that, and thinking I can sit that in if I need to, but I didn't need to. So there was no need. But I mean, I think that's probably the best way to do it quickly anyway, is to do it. But would you want to lower the water temperature quickly? Is the other thing, if you're high, would you want to rapidly bring it back down again?
So I used 2 litre bottles. So I had 4 on the go, 2 in the freezer, 2 in the, when you put them in within about an hour or so.
Yeah, they're gone.
They've gone. And it probably keeps it down by about 0.5 degrees. So not a massive amount, but that was when it hit 40 degrees here for that 2 or 3 days. So I was constantly rotating, and that kept it below 27.5. My aim was to keep it below 28. Anything below 28, I'm really good with. I've had it over 28 before and it's been okay, but I'd rather keep it below 28 degrees. But the thing is, though, it doesn't come down quickly after that anyway, because even when the temperature goes down outside, the heat gets trapped. So once I know the temperature's dropping, I just leave it, and it'll eventually, before it's taken a good 4 or 5 days for it to come down from 27 down to like 25.5. But I didn't worry about it because it was coming down gradually. Touch wood, I haven't lost any coral as well. I lost the yellow assessor. But I don't know why. It could have been heat. Who knows? But all the other fish look okay, so I didn't worry about it. Hey, Steve's in the house.
Yes, he's here. Hello, mate.
All the way from Turkey. Can you hear us, Steve? Can you hear us?
Can you hear me, mate? Can you hear me? Hello, Steve. Can you hear me?
You got £400 headphones in, Ross.
I don't know what the issue is with these. I paid a fortune for them and they just don't work.
So I messaged Jay earlier and say, Jay, I know you're not around at the moment. What's your tank doing? And he said it's 27 degrees. He's got the camera on and he's watching the temperature. At 27, his tank will be fine.
Yeah. But you know what Jay's like? He'll be sitting there having kittens, panicking about it, thinking, I'm surprised he's not set up a sprinkler on the roof of his house or something to try and cool the house down when he's away. Or
I'm surprised he hasn't got something kicked in on that. You have a fan plugged into Wi-Fi
Yeah,
and
they
then
can
use
switch
his
on and off.
phone, and then he can switch it on.
Yeah.
Because at least that way he could have done that. And of course, he wouldn't have been there, so he wouldn't have knocked it into the water.
And the other thing is, I'm actually surprised. That actually leads me on to a comment here from Michael. But I'm surprised Jay hasn't bought a chiller for his tank when he was going away. I thought that'd be the next big purchase. Just spent £1,000 on a chiller. I'm not saying that's what it is, but I think they're about that, are they not?
Yeah, I think you can get a second-hand one for probably about 300 or 400. It depends, isn't it? You can get a new one, I think, for 400 or 500. May not be the best of one, but the thing is, he gets a chiller, it'd be bigger than the tank.
I know. Oh, there we go.
They're quite big. They're quite big, those chillers.
Yeah. I think you said there that very hot in the living room, so these are frozen water bottles not enough. I think a few people have said that kind of thing, that, you know, but it could be the case that if these temperatures keep going like this for the next few years, then what do you do? Do you look at putting air conditioning in the house? Do you look at getting chillers? You know, there's so many different things to consider.
I don't know where I think I'd get an aircon unit rather than a chiller.
Yeah.
I think the chillers work, but I do wonder it's just another expensive piece of kit that if you got even like a portable AC, I know then you've got obviously the tube and it's got to go out of a window or a door, but I suspect they would be as cheap as a chiller would be, and it will chill the whole room rather than you spend all that money just to chill the tank, as opposed to saying it does the whole room and you're cool. So your fish are cool, you're sweating, as opposed to having a unit that chills the whole of the room or the whole of the downstairs. And by the way, the fish tank's going to be all right as well. So I'm not convinced a chiller is better than just getting one of those portable ACs. Yeah, someone at Andy's Reef just put portable AC, 179 quid. Yeah, a chiller, you're talking secondhand, what, 250, 300, and a brand new one like a Deltec or something. You're probably talking what, 400 or 500 quid, maybe a bit further north than that.
A good point from Darren actually there, that chillers seem good, but you also need to run them away from the tank because they throw out warm air, don't they? So I imagine they will. It'll be like an AC unit. They'll need to expel the warm air somewhere. So yeah, that's a good point. You're going to put a chiller in the room, but then heat the room up even more if you keep the chiller in the room. So yeah, AC is probably the way to go.
I think so. And then what you got to do is hopefully have a small window. There's I suppose you could have the door open, but you can get them where actually you got the tube, haven't you? And then they funnel down into quite a slim outlet, and therefore you can have the door of the window open a little bit. I know it's a bit unsightly having the pipe, but I mean, I think I'd rather be cool and don't worry about a big bit of tubing.
I mean, I think if the weather was to keep going like this for a few years, I would probably just look at investing for air conditioning in the house, I think, just to make myself more comfortable rather than anything. Because you know what it's like, you go nights and nights without getting a sleep, you've got fans on the go, and it's horrible. So yeah, I know it's funny we're complaining because we get a couple of hot weeks every year, but you know, there's people live in warm countries with AC all the time. So I think,
but also in Southern Europe, a lot of the houses don't have aircon. But then the way the bricks are and the way they're built and they have the shutters and everything, they're designed to keep the heat out, whereas our houses are designed to keep the heat in. So it doesn't help, does it? That when it is hot, it doesn't escape, and we wonder why. But because that's how they're designed, aren't they? So it's the opposite in South Europe. So I think I would invest in AC. I don't know. I'd probably have what a unit downstairs. You've got to have one upstairs, haven't you? Otherwise, you'd end up camping downstairs for the summer, wouldn't you?
I'd 100% have one in the bedroom, because there's nothing better than getting into a cold bedroom and just pulling the covers over you. That's the best feeling. So one in the bedroom and probably one living room somewhere or that, just so you can get a bit of cool down time, shall we say.
Yeah.
There you go. Carl's in the cab tonight, so he's got the AC on. Lucky for some.
So, Carl, are all your customers listening to the live stream as well? I think that's what happened last time.
Yeah, I'm sure it was actually. So yeah, that's probably the way to go. There was a comment there saying exotic sharks, the tanks will have to come with something to help cool it down. I don't know if that would ever really happen. I mean, you never know. It might come with something to cool it down, some kind of fan system, but I'm not really sure how they would do that one.
I haven't seen any that actually come with anything other than the fans that you've got and Jay's got that go over the top. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how effective they are. Do you think was it effective on yours, having that fan blown across the water?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't use mine the same way that a lot of people do. A lot of them sit them and blow them across the surface of the water. I've got mine's pointing directly down onto where the filter floss is, so it's a waterfall effect, falls over in the filter floss, and then the fan's going down there. So it's a very similar principle. You're not chilling the surface of the water, you're chilling it as it flows over.
Yeah.
And it seems to work relatively well.
Okay, so all the water that's passing through is passing through the fan. So as it comes through, it's getting chilled as opposed to going off the surface and bouncing off kind of thing.
As it flows over the weir to go into the filter floss cup, the fan sits directly above that. So that's where it's cooling it as it drops down. So I'm hoping that that's a kind of good theory behind that. Whether it is or not, no idea. But it seems to work anyway, because that tank sits very stable temperature-wise. The fans kick in now and then, but it doesn't really rise much. I mean, you're talking 0.2 of a degree, 0.3 of a degree it'll rise by, and then the fans kick in and then back down again. So there's not really a massive swing on that little tank. The bigger tank's the one that, it takes a lot longer, but then it takes longer to cool down again.
Yeah, that's the thing with small. One of those fans would be okay on that, as you say, but then to one behind you, you're going to need over more fans because that same fan is not going to have the same effect, obviously.
No. And I did also read another thing. I can't remember who it was, but I read a thing not long ago, and somebody was saying be very careful with those fans that me and Jay and so on have got. They're not designed to be in sumps. Somebody actually burnt their house down by putting the fan in the sump. So they've got to have free air. They'd put the fan in the sump and put it on that way, and it overheated and burnt the house down, I believe. So not one that you want to do, I'm afraid. So yeah, I would definitely be careful. I think they're designed to go above the tanks and not in the sump where it's going to build up heat.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, so let's go back. I've probably missed loads and loads and loads of comments because I'm a bit rusty at this, so excuse me, everyone.
Maybe just go to the top and see who's in the chat.
Yeah. So
a couple of questions.
We'll go right back to the very start. First man in tonight was Techers Reefer. Good to see you again. In fact, everybody has recognised names, so Techers Reefer, Cottage Reef, UKM 120, Skids. That's a new one for me. That might.
No, Skids has been on for the last few weeks. Always makes me laugh when I see that.
I thought it was an interesting name.
Yeah.
We've got Julian, and we've got Backshift Reefer, and then we have the legend that is Ian, or Aqua Ian, which I'll say. What is it?
I've got mine here as well.
Did I say it right? Did I?
Yeah, I think you did.
Aquarium. I'll get there one day, mate. Damo's Reef, and then we have NG Reefer, Mark Dodd, Andy's Reef, UK Reefer, Martin Salmond. I know you've been commenting on Jay's videos, so good to see you, mate. Excuse me. John Wright, did you ever get your yellow fan, Paul?
No, it's as I said, like it's sitting in AAC, the yellow tank at the moment. He's looking after it for me. I checked last week; he was there. He's in the sump. He's in a big sump in one of the rooms in the back with a couple, and with one of my other fish as well. So they're in their own tank.
Who we got? Julie, good to see you again, Julie. You're doing well. Phil's Reef, Howard. Yeah, lots of new faces as well as some old ones. So good to see everybody. Excuse me. Right, where are we? Oh, there's a good comment. Wi-Fi extenders help watching in the garden. Great idea. Sit at the back, have a beer, and watch us.
Absolutely.
I think that's that exciting a night, to be fair. But where else are we?
I mean, it's only about this time you can actually go out in the garden. It's been too hot here to actually go out of the garden until about 6:30.
Coral Reef Queen, is good to see you again. Peter Elliott, only if clowns and constables make evil tanks at 29.9 ice cubes ain't doing anything. I would try the bottle of water trick like we were saying. So freeze some RO water in a bottle and then sit that inside the tanks. I
would do a 2-litre bottle that's been in the freezer. Just stand it in there, then have another one and then rotate it. That might help because an Evo's quite small, isn't it? Was it 57 litres? Might even be smaller.
It's the same as that little one I've got, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Portrait Witch, good to see you again. Johnny Poo. Don't trust sulfur PO4 test kit as the rest are good though. Okay.
Yeah, I never used that for phosphate.
Sky Marine, good to see you. Yeah, like I said, I think a new light and a different lid may be needed for mine. Hopefully, it'll keep it cooler.
I would turn the light off. So I would turn the lights off because you don't need the lights on. I mean, when I was away on holiday in July, my light packed up on the Tuesday because someone popped in and said the light was off. I then replaced the light on the Saturday, and it was fine. The corals were fine. The SPS lost a little bit of color, but it's back now. Everything else is fine. So you could do without light for, what was that, 4 days? If the flow had gone for 4 days, that would have been it. The tank would have been wiped out.
Yeah.
So I would turn the light off because it could be that your light is driving more, because you do get some heat off the light, and that light, is it quite a thin long light on that tank? So it could be actually creating quite a bit of heat because it's quite. Is the light in the lid? Do you have the
it's
lid?
all part of the lid, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I would probably take the lid off. So obviously the light comes with it, therefore you're getting more air to it.
Do you know what you could do actually? I've seen people do that before. Is they get little 3D printed risers that lifts the lid up by, I don't know.
I see. So you got a little bit of,
Yeah, so it builds an air gap around it, which allows you to get some of that hot air away.
Yeah.
And it also stops your fish jumping out. You still got
I was just about to say, if you take the lid off, what fish have you got? Because you know, we say take the lid off, you get the lid off and you've got loads of carpet surface in the morning. You're not going to think much of us, understandably. No. So it depends what fish you got as well.
So always leave the lid on.
Yeah, but then even then, clowns and things like that. I've had a clown jump before. In the night, they quite often go to the side and they'll be upside down. And if they get a little bit of a shock or something, bang, they're out. So,
because remember, Steve lost a clown as well from that. He had a lid on it, it went straight through the little gap. So
that's right. I remember him saying, yeah.
So where are we now? Mogsy, we've seen him. Honest to say, tank's wet. Probably she's cheaper than a chiller, so it heats the room up. So yeah. Carl Reefing, good to see you, mate. Brett, good to see you as well. Sussex Reef. We've got the full house tonight. Everybody's back. I say back. I'm the one that's back. Here's a good idea. I've been debating putting a portable unit in the loft and run a vent into the landing or bedroom through the ceiling. Neighbours of air conditioning, posh sod. So that would probably work. If you had the AC unit in the loft and then ran the vent into. Yeah, interesting.
Because you could easily, because you've got eaves around the edge, haven't you? That lets the air in, so you could easily put one of those by that. Or if you didn't want to cut a hole or anything like that, and that would work well in terms of cold air down and then the hot air out for a different vent. Makes sense.
There's some dedication from Andrew. Evening Reefers, nice to see you again, Ross. Can't stay out, is out with the family, so I'll watch back later. Have a good weekend. Thanks, tuned in and left a comment. Right, that was nice of him. Right, let's see. Have I caught up yet? On the road, so watch again later. Let's see. Paul, welcome back, big man. Here we go. My last tank died at 36 Celsius. Been away from it for 14 years. Wow. It was it's a long time.
So, Michael, have you got a tank now?
Yeah. He commented earlier. Very bad insulation. Yeah. I'm sure he said hello from Holland, was it?
Yes. Yeah. So it was right at the top. Yeah.
Is that right?
No, it wasn't Holland. It was somewhere else.
From Denmark.
Yeah.
Denmark. Yeah. So, I think you'll have a tank. Economical Reefer, watching from Florida, just put the worldwide corals enough to Top Chef Aquatic to see how they run the systems. Keep them basic, doing a video on this. Great stream, guys. Well, that blows my Friday night out of the water. You're in Florida, going to worldwide corals enough to Top Shelf Aquatics. And at that, I'm done.
Nice.
So, yeah, I don't really think we can top that one, can we?
No. And I've got to say, years ago, I would have gone to Florida for St. Kills, but if I go Florida now, it will definitely be to go and see some of the LFS out there, how things change.
I've been to the LFSs in Florida and been around them before, previously when I had the freshwater stuff, but I didn't really have an interest in saltwater things then. So you know, I would go and visit like to worldwide corals, walk around it and
Yeah,
go, oh yeah, it's nice, but you know, any freshwater stuff. And then you're thinking, why did I miss that opportunity?
I know.
Yeah.
How that outlook's change.
Christopher Island, hi guys, watched for ages, glad to see you us back. Thanks very much, mate. Sussex Reef, evening all. There we go, Michael has said. Paul, not yet. Waterbox 60.2 is on its way. Good choice, mate.
Nice. So is that what you've got? Have you got the 60.2? Because I always get confused by, so is it 60 gallons and it's a 2 foot?
Yeah,
is that what
right.
this, right, okay.
Yeah, 60 gallons, 2 foot. Although, I cannot remember the exact figure, it was that long ago now, but I'm sure when I actually filled it with water, it wasn't 60 gallons. 60 gallons is, so 60 is if you were at absolutely brim the sump and the display tank, you would then get 60 gallons. So it is slightly under that by a bit, but yeah, it's
a lot of the manufacturers round it up, don't they? Because I've seen others that have been that'd be like 50 odd, and they'll put it to 60, or it's 360, and they put it as 400.
I know. But if you got a tank like that and filled it up and measured it, are you really going to go, no, I don't want it anymore?
You're not going to, are you? Yeah.
It's only 58. It's not actually 60.
You're doing for dodgy selling because it's not exactly the same as you thought it would be.
I know. Johnny said it's not fair. You're right, mate. That's it's not fair. That is. I'd rather be in Florida just now as well.
Absolutely.
Was at WWC last month. Blew my mind. It is an impressive store, to be fair. Really, really is.
So they've got two, haven't they? There's the one that's on the videos lately, which is the one with a big entrance, and on the left-hand side of it, they've got a massive tank that's quite low down, isn't it? It's off the floor.
Lagoon
yes, at Lagoon. That looks absolutely superb when you see it on videos.
So that wasn't the store that I went to.
It's the original one, isn't it? You might have gone to. You don't see that so often, but I'm sure it's still there.
Yeah, I don't think that new superstore was even built when I was.
No, it's fairly new.
In Florida quite a lot, but when I was there looking at fish stuff, you know, that shop I'm positive wasn't there because it's right next to SeaWorld, I'm sure. It's down.
Oh, is it?
You know, just off International Drive and along past SeaWorld, I'm sure. So it's in a kind of touristy area. So I would have went to that, but I'm positive it wasn't there. But yeah, great choice, to be honest with you. I love watching the videos of all the stores over there because they've just got so much more choice than we have.
I don't know, have they? I mean, obviously the stores look. Obviously the stores look a lot bigger, which it is because America is a lot bigger. The shop space is probably cheaper. I'm just guessing, but I don't know if they have got a lot better or not. Maybe they have. I don't know. I know they've been showing things as blue a lot longer. I don't know enough about it. I know a lot of people say that we don't get as much quality and range as they do. But I suppose it depends where you are, because I feel where I am, I'm sport for choice. Yeah. In terms of shops and what they do and the quality and the range. So most things that I would want, I could get. But I know that's not the same across the whole of the country.
No, there seems to be, I mean, you're quite good where you are, then kind of Manchester area, around about there seems to be
really
quite
good
a lot.
as well.
It's what's that classed as Midlands, is that?
No, Northwest rather than Midlands, I would say.
So yeah, kind of around about that area seems quite good. And then there's not really much more further out than that. It seems to be the two kind of big hubs as such, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think around the Midlands, around Jay and around Birmingham, I think there's a few. But you don't hear as much about that as you do Manchester. Manchester around that area seems to be the major hub, I would say.
Yeah.
For reefing. There's quite a few around where I am. And then there's some others dotted around. But I think you would say Northwest, kind of Manchester way, and then around Essex is probably, maybe I'm biased, has probably got the biggest conurbations of the number of LFS, I think. Yeah. There may be other places that have got more, but from the people we see on here and in the videos you see and through the chat, on other things, it's usually centered around those two areas. I don't know.
Yeah, that does seem to be the most popular.
Yeah, there is obviously places other than that, you know, around where Dom is, and then you've got Northeast, around Leeds and that, but you don't hear as much around Leeds in that area as you do Manchester. I don't think anyway, and that's just a perception.
I mean, you've got Radical Reefs is around Leeds, is it not? But I'm pretty sure there's not really.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's around that area.
I think
not 100%. Yeah.
And then you've got, what is there? A couple of Yorkshire kind of area, I would say, but Yeah, there's not massive amounts really anywhere else. It all seems to be that kind of same northwest area, if you want to call it that. That seems to be the kind of hub for it all.
Yeah. I mean, I've read quite a lot recently. I don't know if it's true or not. That quite a few places closed in Scotland. Is that true?
Don't know. I've kind of been out of the loop for a bit, but I know that Nessie's there are moving premises just now because basically everything got too expensive.
So is he definitely reopening? Because I think the last time I heard, obviously, he was closing the shop, and then was he doing something? He was in his back garden, or something.
Yeah,
Certainly,
so
there was a lot cheaper.
he's closed the shop and he's building a kind of big garage at the back of his house where he's going to turn that into basically a store where it'll kind of go down the route of almost like Signature Frags. It'll be an appointment only type system where he'll order you whatever you want. He'll still keep stock. He'll get things in. He'll put them on the website, but you just make an appointment, go over and see him and get what you want there. So yeah, I think that's kind of, it's probably the way that a lot of places will go, to be honest with you, because how do you keep a store open if you're not getting footfall through the door? You're paying astronomical rates. How do you do it? I don't know how companies are going to survive through the fact that the hobby seems to be that. I mean, everywhere you look, people are selling tanks. They're selling them everywhere. And it just seems to be one that, nobody's really got that bug about again just now. A lot of people seem to have kind of fell flat on the hobby. I know you'd set up your tank there, Paul, but a lot of people seem to be struggling just now to get the drive for it. But again, we spoke about this before, and it seems to be the summertime is the killer. Once it gets past these hot summer months and it starts to get to winter and the nights draw in and, you've got dark nights again, people are going, well, what am I going to do in the house now? Let's focus on the tank again. So I do think, and I hope that it goes back to normal once the hot weather disappears. I mean, even if you look on social media, it seems to have died as well. There's not anywhere near the same engagement on that.
Yeah. I mean, if you look on, and I've seen that with what I'm doing with Love to Reef. So it's really interesting. I've now sold 50% of the tickets in terms of money in. Got another 20% that I'd sold subject to people paying. But most of it has come from Instagram. So Instagram seems to be still loads of posts and everything else. Facebook is dead. There's hardly anything coming through on Facebook. Ultimate Reef has been a real pain because I put, and some of you would have seen the banner on Instagram. I tried to put that banner on Ultimate Reef. They took it down. They said it was a commercial event. The only way I've done it is, a guy has posted on there saying, is anyone going to it? Obviously, you put on the thread, so thanks for that. And then some other people have then said, oh, is there an event? Blah, blah, blah. So I haven't been able to post other than under the Southeast Essex, which has kind of got its own little group, anything about it. So that's been drip feeding through. Quite a few people that I know, they're away at the moment, so that I'll probably sort out when I come back. So it's definitely slow at the moment, but it is slow every year this time, other than when we had COVID. I don't think, because people weren't getting away.
Do you have the banner there, Paul? You can put it up on the screen to let people see it if you want.
Yes, no, we've got to find
it. Flung you on the spot there, but it just seems to be that I totally agree with you. Facebook's just a non-event now. I mean, I don't even go on Facebook at all, really. It just seems to have washed away. Ultimate Reef I find very difficult because it is very old school, shall we say. And it can be quite heavily opinionated, and I get that what you're saying as well. You're trying to help people out, and then you're taking posts down for you. And it's not ideal, but fingers crossed you can get enough attention for the event, mate. And it's been a good one.
I think I will. I mean, it will sell out. I'm convinced of it, because after a week, over half the tickets have gone. It's just going to take a bit more time because of the time of year it's being done, that kind of thing. So I'm really pleased, and thank you. There's some people in the chat that have bought tickets, so thank you very much for those who have bought tickets. Really, really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you on the 17th. If anyone's in the chat or anyone who's online who doesn't know about it, you have put me on the spot. I should have had the banner available, but I was running so late, as you know.
Sorry, mate. Actually,
no, I will find a way of getting the banner, but I can't at the moment.
I've got it on my WhatsApp, but that's on my phone. You're better putting it on
Yeah.
the screen, I think. But yeah, I know that's you put
Yeah,
quite
so,
a bit
so
of
for
effort
those
into
who don't know, so on the 17th of September, I am hosting a Saturday morning reefing, I suppose is what it's called, from 10 o'clock to about 12:30, kicks off at 10:30. We've got the guys who are distributors from Ecotech in the UK, which is Exodus. They're presenting, they're doing a session around flow and lighting. So anyone's got any questions on that. Then there's a little break, and then we've got them back on stage, because in the room, along with Paul from AAC, who was on the live stream last week, for a Q&A. So whether you're just started off in reefing, if you haven't got a tank, or you're really, really experienced, anyone, you can ask questions on that. Then we've got a giveaway, and for the giveaway, people can buy tickets on the day, although buying a ticket for the event gets you an entry into the giveaway, and any money we raise on the day goes to Mind, which is Mind the charity, the mental health charity. So that's the kind of the formal session, shall we call it. And then, yeah, thanks, Carl. And then we've got something slightly different. And this is a test event anyway. We've got Aquaprint, who have been in the chat before. So they're there. They're bringing a 3D printer. They're bringing, just to see, so you can see what happened. I must admit, I've never seen a 3D printer in action other than YouTube. Thanks, Darren. And so they're bringing some of their stuff along. I know you've showcased quite a few of their products in the past, haven't you, Ross?
I actually got.
I was waiting for you to go to the magic shelf to get some stuff. So
no, this isn't even prepped, by the way. I actually ordered some stuff from them the other day. So
yeah,
I've got. Where the hell have I put it now? Random plug, not sponsored advert, but they've got these. If I can get them apart, incredibly strong magnets, and I'm frightened to sit them near anything now. Actually, it's quite a good system because on the magnets they've got these little slots.
Yeah.
So you get your strong set of magnets, then you just order whatever you want to go on them. So I've ordered these little plates here, and then they just slide in like that. So you can basically change it out. So I've ordered a whole host of different things. So again, I haven't even opened these properly yet, but there's a little kind of tray frag rack one.
Yeah.
Then I've ordered a longer one and 2 mushroom baskets there, but they've got see-through bases on them. So the light can penetrate through the bottom of the mushroom basket, so you're not actually blocking out any light from the tank. And they're all in the same system with that little slot. So all you need to do is buy a couple of magnets, and then you can just interchange what you're actually using them for. It's a brilliant, brilliant idea. I'm frightened to stick these together now because I'm going to end up jamming my fingers in them, but they are very strong magnets, I must say. Yeah, so that's kind of one of the more impressive things, actually. But I know he's bringing. You say he's bringing a printer with him, isn't he, to do some demonstrations?
So he's doing all that. So he will be there. So that'll be good. Something a bit different. And then there's a lady called Shez who does reef art. So didn't she make your sign?
She made the sign for me, mate. Let me just. Yeah, if I'm giving Aquaprint a plug, I've got to give Shez a plug too, don't I? So she made that for me.
Yeah.
Which is on a canvas, and it's UV as well. So when you sit it near the tank, the UV light hits it and it all reacts, and it actually looks really, really cool. So she does all the custom. You can get your logo or anything you want on it, but
yeah,
very, very talented woman, very good at what she does. So yeah, quite impressed with them, to be fair. That's the one she's done for me.
Yeah, so she'll be there. She is bringing some of her paintings with her to showcase, so people can buy those on the day. And also, you could obviously speak to her about having a custom piece done as well. Thanks, Johnny. So that's it. So it's a test event. Tickets are £12, and we'll see how it goes. If it works, and my definition of work is, one, it pays for itself because I'm paid for it. It's come out of my pocket, but that's on me. If I enjoy it, so if it was to be okay, but I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it again. And if people like it, so if it meets those 3 things, then I'll probably organise another one. But I've got to say, I spent a hell of a lot of time on it so far, more time than I thought, and it stopped me from really setting up this tank. But if it all goes well on the day, then, and that'd be the thing, if people give really good feedback and they enjoy it, then I probably would do it again. I'd learn from that. I think launching it in August is probably not the best time to do it, because a lot of people, as you say earlier on, are not interested in reefing this time of year. So I've got a few people who come back to me, say, yeah, Paul, I'll let you know at the end of the summer, because they're not really thinking about reefing. Their tanks are just turning over. And that's about it. So yeah, if you are interested in going, then message me on Instagram is probably the easiest way. That's where most people have messaged me, and then we can sort something out. Yeah.
So.
I know that Aquarium's coming down, so I mean Jay's coming down.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so it is a long way. So it's in Harlow. So that's basically about 15 minutes from the M25. But if you're a long way from the M25, then obviously you need to get down. So I know it's a long way for a lot of people just for Saturday morning. Then when it finishes, then AAC is a 1 minute walk from where we're going to be. So the plan is that when that finishes, people go around to AAC, have a look around, have a chat with the guys there, and then people can mingle, and then we'll go from there, really. So ultimately, it'll be kind of the morning, and then it'll stretch into the afternoon.
I think it'll probably be one of those events where, you know, people will say, oh, I wish I could go, and then they'll see the photos and videos from it and go, oh, when's the next one? I want to go, and then the next one will be really popular, I'd imagine. That's probably the way that will...
Yeah. It's deliberately small, because I don't know what the demand will be. And also, I didn't want to put on something big, because that would need more organising. So a couple of people have messaged me and said, well, why isn't it a big event? Why isn't it all day? And I've done a kind of a frequently asked questions, and it's really simple. I want to do a small event because I haven't done anything like that before. So I can't say I'm an expert on that. I'm getting some help from people around ideas and things to look after, but I just want to make it manageable, because it is just me. And actually, also I'm financing as well, but I don't need any money for that. I'm really cool with that. But if it falls flat on its face, I don't really want to lose any money on it. So I don't think I will, but that's a risk. But I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it for a laugh. And I had some really good feedback. People saying that's just what we need in the hobby. Haven't met up with loads of people for a while, that kind of thing. So for me, whenever I go to those things, and to be fair, there isn't many of those in the UK. It's really meeting up with people that you know and meeting people you don't know. Some people have said to me around, well, is it really for people that are experienced, or, you know, I just got my first tank? And I said, no, by all means, come along. You know, I'll introduce you to some people that I know. You can have a chat with them, and then you'll connect with people. I said, the connections you make there, you'll be speaking to those people long after the event, asking them questions like we do. You know, we obviously bumped into one another online, that kind of thing. And here we are 18 months later, and we all help one another. And I know there's quite a few people in the chat that we all talk to on Instagram and stuff like that. So it's nice to be able to talk to other people. So that's the main thing.
Although it is quite strange when you start talking to somebody who knows your face from doing the live streams, but you've no idea who you're talking to. It takes a couple of minutes before you go, sorry, what's your name? And then you go, oh, right, that makes sense now. I know who you are, So yeah, I think that'll be a very good one. There's a comment just going to come back to quickly here. Professional Ship said, is that a Cletus McFarlane t-shirt, Ross? Yes, it is. That's one of my guilty YouTube pleasures, is our Cletus McFarlane. That's one of his t-shirts I've got on there today, as awkward as that is.
So I haven't got a clue who he is. Maybe I should.
Yeah. Nah, it's nothing reef related, mate. Completely polar opposite direction. But I find his videos absolutely brilliant. But he's just, if you're at a loose end, look up Cletus McFarlane on YouTube and you'll see him. But not quite as good as YBS Brody that we often look at.
Well, I was just about, just prompting me. So if you haven't seen his latest video, we might have had another one since then, because he posts quite often. There was an absolute brilliant video where he's in a kayak or a canoe, and it's I suppose it's fiberglass, but it's see-through. So he's on.
It's probably plastic, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. So the whole pitch of it is in this canoe on his own, but he's got his brother and a couple of mates on the boat that are tracking him or with him, and he doesn't get out of the boat. Obviously, gets into the water, and is it 3 days? And I think it's 3 days, or is it 36 hours? Yeah, maybe said day and a half. It's absolutely brilliant. The reason why I liked it, I think it's very different and really unique what he's done. So it's really different in terms of in this boat. He goes snorkeling, which he does quite a bit, and there's some really brilliant footage of the fish, but also some coral as well. I know they're 10 a dozen, you can see the videos, but just, I don't watch his channel because of coral, but when you do see the coral, it's quite a treat. But also the number of fish that you see and mammals that you see that go underneath the boat, from stingrays to, I think it's actually a baby whale, all kinds of things.
There was a whale they come up against, wasn't there? And it just come up, how we nudge at the kayak and away it went. But
yeah,
it was really impressive, to be fair.
Yeah, so I've got to say, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I dip in and out his videos because I find some of them are quite samey, but this one was absolutely brilliant, I thought. And it's probably the first one I've watched the whole way through without even tempting to stop. So I think it's about 19 minutes, but for me, it was a brilliant video. So YBS.
This is a little freeze frame, if I can put that on. I don't know if you can see that or not, but
yeah. Oh, that's underneath the boat, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing we're talking about in the kayak there. So you can see the ray. It just, it was brilliant. So if you get a chance, I would go and watch that video. It's YBS Young.
I'll tell you what, the footage from the drone that you just got there was absolutely, the water, how crystal clear the camera is as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely superb. And of course, then he's got the GoPros all the way around. I mean, look. Yeah. It's a great video.
More than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I won't spoil it all for you, but definitely go and have a look at that one and see what you think. But I think it's a very, very good one. There's a couple other ones though as well we spoke about before. There's Fish Locker that does the stuff around about Cornwall way. He does some good videos sometimes, doesn't he? Yeah,
that's where that's where I found out that there's wrasse around the UK. I hadn't even heard of wrasse being around the UK. I mean, years ago I wouldn't have even heard of wrasse until I got the fish tank and that. But when you see all the nems and other corals that's around the coast, I suppose around the coast, the whole of the UK, but you don't see them. But around Cornwall, they're crystal clear. So, yeah.
I really was impressed with the snake locking enemies that was in the sea. They looked like mini torches, basically, didn't they?
Yeah.
They were really cool.
Yeah.
So going back to this, Michael has said, very good idea with that meetup, but I'm a bit far from it. Wish I luck in the world with it. That's a long trip.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very long trip. So Christopher's asked a little question, how you get on with the empty tank, Paul? So we did cover that earlier, but do you want to give a quick...
Yeah, so today the water's gone in. I tell you what, I might be able to do a little tour. Let me see if I can...
Oh, we're getting an aquascape tour, are we?
Yeah, so last time I made a right dog's dinner of it because I've done it on my iPad and I couldn't really share it properly. So let me just do my settings and see if I can change my camera, and then we'll go from there. It's upside down. Right, there we go. Now, I may not be able to hear you, Ross, so...
Yeah, that's fine. I'll put you on full screen anyway, mate.
So you can just, there we go. So I'm not too sure you can hear me or not, but...
Yeah, we can, mate.
So the rockscape is there. I'll come around here, you might be able to see a bit better. So I've gone for what you call, I suppose, a typical peninsula. So high at the top, at the back, then goes down. I might put a little bit more rock in this kind of area here. And the reason why it's glowing is I'm not convinced about the sand. So it's white sand, but my God, it's like what you see in The Only Way is Essex, where they've had their teeth whitened. So I'm not 100% sure about the sand, but I'm pretty happy around the rock. And what I have found, the pump's obviously on now, and you can see there, that's just, I've got no power heads in there. That is just a return pump. So I've been pretty impressed with just a return pump on its own. So the plan is not to have any power heads in here, and just to run it off of probably 3 or 4 plugs. So you've got the light, the skimmer, the heater, and the return pump. So that'll be it, just the 4. Yeah. I don't know if it can come around here. So that's it there.
Can you hear me?
It's only got RO in it at the moment. I've got to throw some salt in tomorrow. So I've filled it up for those that I've filled it up because just outside the back door here is where the garden tap is. So it's long enough for the pipe to go in. But I've got to say, a tank's really nice. I know Jay loves his Max Nano, and this is just a little bit longer. So, and the return pump, I don't know if you can hear it. maybe not. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I think it's really quiet. So I tried the skimmer, and the skimmer's quite loud, but I haven't had that breaking in yet, so I haven't sorted that out. So it's going to get wet tomorrow. No, it's not wet. It'll get salt in it tomorrow, and then the lights will go off until next Friday, and then we'll see how it goes. But I can't believe how white the sand is. I think you can see that it's just absolutely popping. Now, actually, when you've got corals around this area here, you imagine if that was all kind of yellows and greens around this area, I think it would work really well.
Yeah,
I'm not convinced. So the jury's out on the sand, but I'm loving the aquascape, and there's lots of holes and crevices in the top for all the fish, because it's quite a minimalist aquascape, and hopefully you can see there. You can see all the way through the aquascape. So I've deliberately done that, and there's gaps in there for the fish, and I think the fish can get underneath there as well. So I've deliberately done that. I'm not going to have many fish, but if I can have fish where they can hide, then that should work quite well.
Yeah, it looks really good, mate.
Right, I can hear you now.
That's better. No, I was saying it looks really good. I actually think the white sand will work brilliant with the contrast of the corals and the white sand. You know, if it stays that clean, then I really do think that that'll work quite well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, was you able to see that okay? Because I made a dog's dinner with it last time, but that was the webcam I used last week. Was that all right?
Yeah, we could see it perfectly, mate. I mean, the white sand obviously tries to bleach out everything because it is that white, but yeah, we could see it, and the scape looks really, really good, mate. I do like that. Obviously, it's one of those where you look at it and you think, the scape looks quite small, but then I've made this mistake before where you put the rock in, you make a scape, and then you go, oh, I've no room for coral anymore. So by the time you put coral in there and it grows out, it'll be perfect, I think. It really will. Yeah,
so I deliberately done that. So I've got a piece of cardboard. This is really sad. My family were absolutely ripping me. You imagine what Jill's like. She takes the mickey out of us anyway, didn't she? So basically, a piece of cardboard that was the shape of the inside. So it's kind of an L shape. I then done tram lines. I didn't want to take the rock beyond that. And then I went up to say it was 50%. I mean, this is really nerdy stuff. So, and I thought, well, I don't want to go higher than 50%. It's a little bit lower than that. So it's exactly, that's like the height I wanted it. And then I put it in the tank and I left it there for about 5 days, didn't touch it, and then made some changes to it. I raised it up a little bit so that the actual rockscape would be sitting on the sand. So the rockscape's in first, the sand's round it. But there's a base underneath, so therefore you don't see that base because the sand's around about 1 centimetre, so it's kind of raised up a little bit. Otherwise, you do your rockscape, you put it in, the sand goes in, and in the bottom of the rockscape you don't see.
Yeah,
so that's what I've deliberately done.
Yeah, you sat it on egg crate, didn't you?
It was on egg crate just to show it, but it's not on egg crate now. The reason why I don't keep it on egg crate is because what tends to happen, detritus then gets all caught up in between, and it creates pockets of crap, which then bubble up, and then they start to break down into ammonia and stuff like that. So I only put it in there because then the rock was resting on it, and because it was resting on it, I wouldn't scratch the bottom, and I could move it around and everything else. But no, there's no. I wouldn't put egg crate in there. So and also the rock I put at the bottom was flat pieces, so there's no pressure points. So I always do that again. Have flat pieces on the base, so there's no pressure points.
That was what I'd done with the new tank. Was when I put the rock in, I was kind of struggling to get, the hassle I had with trying to do the aquascape on this. I was ready to smash the house up, but I ended up, when I was at Kraken, picking up 2 big pieces with flat bases on them. They'd obviously been cut in really big pieces, so I used them flat on the bottom of the glass first, and then built up from there, and that made it a lot easier to do it. I mean, it was really, really easy when you start getting a flat base and you've not got things rocking about and putting all the pressure on the glass, because like you say, that rock weighs quite a bit, and if you've all got it on one pressure point, then you're better to spread that load about. So I done that, put it straight on the glass and then the sand in afterwards. But I had made the aquascape in mind of where the sand was going to be, so I wasn't really focusing on the very bottom bit. I knew that was going to be covered, so it wasn't as bad.
Yeah, it was just because it was quite low. I didn't want it to look even smaller, so I just raised it by the height of what I thought the sand would end up being. And it's okay now because I left it in there for 5 days beforehand. Because sometimes looking at it, I'm not too sure about that. Let's do something about it, and then you can change it. But yeah, I think it's worked out okay. We'll see how it goes over time. And I'm not too fussed about the colour. I mean, the rock was used rock, so I used bleach. I bleached it for a week. So I haven't bought any new rock for it. I just use all existing. So we'll see how that goes. It should be, it shouldn't have any phosphate or nitrate in it, but I'll soon find out, because both will go through the roof in the first 8 weeks. So I haven't got to worry about it. And then if there's a problem, I just whip it out, sort it out, and then go from there. But I've used rock, dead rock before that I've bleached without any problems. So I don't see, and if there's a bit of a problem, if it leaches for a little bit, it's no problem, because I'm not going to have any sensitive corals in there. I'm not going to have many fish in there, so it's not going to be a high bioload. It's not going to have really hard corals to look after. So
speaking of that, Ian's asked if you've ever thought of making it an Aptasia tank.
Well, that would be easy, wouldn't it?
Or would it?
Well, it should be.
It's one of those things that I bet if you wanted to do it, you couldn't do it because there would be issues or something. Guaranteed. We've all had Aptasia. But
I try and grow Aptasia, and I can't grow it no matter how much I put in it.
Well, there was somebody local to me, Glasgow kind of area, that had said, they were selling. I need to watch how I word this. They were selling nudibranches. I was going to say they were selling nudes, but selling nudibranches, and they were actually looking for people with Aptasia because they couldn't grow Aptasia. Probably quick enough's the better way to do it.
Yeah, it's quick enough, because they absolutely that's the only thing they feed on, didn't you? So I know someone who was breeding those once, and he had 3 tanks. One tank which he had them in, and the other 2 tanks he was breeding Aptasia, and then once that was full, he would take the rock and put it in there. But then when he was taking the rock out of that tank where they were in, he had to make sure there was none on there, because if any of them got on there, he put back in any other tanks, they would just wipe the other tank out with Aptasia. So what he actually ended up doing was getting Aptasia X and squirting it badly into the Aptasia, which then created loads of spores, which then made it multiply. Because what happens if you try and kill it, the protection is it pushes out loads of stuff of Aptasia, of the spores. So that's one of the issues, are that if you have large pieces of Aptasia and you try and use Aptasia X and you get it wrong, you then create loads of small ones. So what people tend to do is you get peppermint shrimps, because they go after the small Aptasia. They don't touch the big Aptasia. Use the Aptasia X on that, gets rid of the biggies, and then the peppermint shrimp get rid of the small ones. So that's what I've done before. So
there's a question here that I don't think I can answer, but maybe you can help. But I know somebody who can answer it. So he said, Ross, can I pick your brain? Thinking of dosing Calc and doesn't use a Milwaukee pH, I think that's probe, and then their dosing pump. Good idea or not? So I know absolutely nothing about Calc. There's a man who's probably still in the comments called UK Reefer. He is what I would call the Calc master. He has done so much research, time, put a lot of effort into it, and he knows a lot about the Calc. So if UK Reefer is still in the chat, hopefully he'll pop up. Failing that, I think Backshift Reefer had a go at it as well. He might go to help out. Or Paul, do you know much about it?
I haven't used it before. I know people use dosing pumps to dose it, so you keep the dose regular. I don't know about using a pH probe or pH monitor to, I suppose, dose it. So I suppose the thing is, when it reaches a certain pH, then you would stop. But I'm not sure. People use pH probes on calcium reactors. I don't think I've seen using it for Calc, but I haven't used Calc before. But certainly, Calc seems to be going back in fashion. Reef King swears, not Reef King. Reef King has used it actually. Cole's used Calc Wasser before. Reef Dork is definitely into Calc Wasser at the moment, and he's done a number of live streams on it. And he's done a number of videos on it. So check out his videos, Darren. I haven't used it before, but people tend to use a dosing pump. Some people use their RO, but the only problem with that, your RO goes into the tank in different quantities at different times. So you may not get a consistent dose going into it.
So here you go. UK Reefer is still here with us. So he said, still here, pal. I just dose it at night, mate. Whatever the evaporation is, just dose that in Calc.
Okay.
So basically what he said is, put a calcium reactor today, so that will run the tank in the day, and Calc will run at night time.
Okay, because then the Calc obviously puts, I think Reef Dog is using it to increase his pH. So I suppose if the lights go down, UK Reefer, I'm assuming you're dosing Calc, and that will bring your pH up to get a consistent level.
Mm-hmm. But UK Reefer's definitely the Calc master, because I know Backshift Reefer here said Calc is life. I know he got Backshift Reefer onto it as well. So
okay, so yeah, I think also Backshift Reefer's saying around you need a pH probe while dosing it.
Yeah, pH probe while dosing. So yeah,
I think at one point I will try it, but I don't really need to at the moment. But I would like to try it out on a bigger tank to see what it's all about and see if we can push my pH up.
so there you go. I run my Calc from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. and that just replaces my RO evaporation.
Oh, okay. So you run it in your RO water then? I'm assuming. So you don't have a dosing pump or anything like that. So, but then you've got a big tank, haven't you? So actually, if the RO was to vary, then I suppose you won't matter if it's a big tank or a small tank. It's all relative to the size of the tank, isn't it? I mean, obviously, I could put it into that one in the RO. I mean, the RO container's like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. That's relative to what I've got there.
Mm-hmm. So Alex Reef Dork has said it's effectively what Telegram does.
That was Alex, yeah.
Slurry and GXL Proflux. You're just better dosing it and adjusting based on your alkalinity. So yeah, there seems to be a variety of different theories on it, but one thing is it seems to be very popular.
Yeah.
Well, it always was very popular, wasn't it? And then it seemed to kind of fade away.
Well, people didn't really talk about it more, and then people like Alex are talking about it more and more, and therefore it's front of mind, and then more and more people are getting into it. I think it's always been there, but it seemed to go out of fashion, I would say.
But is it a case that, and I mean, I'm maybe speaking way out of turn here, but is it a case that companies are trying to push so many different products when realistically we just need to go back to basics and say what worked 20 years ago before we had all these fancy products and gadgets and so on? You know, it was very simple back then. So why are we being, I'm not saying ripped off's the right word, why are we being maybe tricked into thinking we need X, Y, and Z when in actual fact we just go back to old school basics and do it that way?
Well, Paul was saying about last week, there was some question about kit and stuff like that. And he was saying, well, actually, you can run a tank as expensive or cheap as you want. You don't need all the gadgets. Well, obviously, he sells all the gadgets and he wants to sell all the gadgets.
Yeah.
But in effect, he was saying what you're saying there, that you don't need the gadgets to run a tank. I think from his point of view, the kind of alkalinity monitor has been a game changer for him, because I know he uses it on the display tank that's massive and other stuff like that, and it's really helped him. But again, you don't need all of that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So you can definitely get a probe. Tanks run the easiest and the best as to date. Getting better results now than when I was dosing using Coral Essentials for the trace on top. Also, a lot of people using the Coral Essentials stuff now as well. It seems to be very popular.
Yeah. So what trace elements are you dosing on top? Is it the other major ones, or is it kind of some of the minor ones as well, like iodine, potassium, strontium, that kind of thing? Or is it the other major ones just to support the calc?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's been through this with me before, and it's shocking that I can't remember it, but he has told me these before, but hopefully he'll come back with that one. Reef King said, Calc scoops the pH, you need to mix it right and clean your pump more often. Jonathan Backshift Reefer has said, must be a sealed container so it doesn't affect the calc. In the summer, winter, I just adjust my milliliters to minute as my evaporation changes.
Okay, so basically you keep an eye on your evaporation, and then I see. So you adjust so that it's pretty stable, right? That makes sense. So you're looking, because I've actually found the evaporation has dropped. I'm using RO, but I'm biased because obviously I haven't got the big tank. I'm hardly making any water at the moment, but then I have cut down by 450 litres. But I think the other two tanks I'm not filling up as much. So I don't think the evaporation's as high at the moment as it has been in the winter. I'd be interested to see what people think.
What a good thing
people's RO dropped? Do you find your RO usage is the same as it is in the winter, or you find it's less, Ross, or you haven't really noticed?
I don't notice because I've only had, so this tank's relatively newly set up and that one doesn't use much. I've not noticed a big change just now. But what I will say, and I think it's quite a good thing, and I think Jonathan Backshift Reefer maybe uses this, is I don't have one, but Reef Factory do ATO, I think it's a level keeper or something it's called. And it actually tells you how much you're putting in every day. So on the app, it tells you, you know, you've put in X amount of milliliters of water today. So then you can keep an eye on that, see the graph, and then see how much you put in. So you're able to see,
So
you know,
you
if
can
you,
see if it's
yeah,
varying because of the weather
yeah, the usage.
conditions and blah blah
So
blah.
it's telling you your usage. Now, I might be wrong with that one, but I'm pretty sure that's how that one works. What I did get for this tank, and it's actually probably one of the best things I think I've got for it, is the Reef Factory do just the level sensor. So because the ATO chamber in this is relatively small, I think it holds something like 7 or 8 liters. That
Yeah,
only lasts me between 3, kind of 4 days. So I know for a fact I would forget to top that up. I know for a fact I would do it. So I bought the level sensor now. I think it was about 60 quid or something. But what happens is it then sends a notification to your phone to say the water level's low. So you can set that to where you want. So I'll leave
yeah,
it with probably about that much left in the RO chamber. So
yeah,
it's just enough. I can get about a day with what's left. So when it starts sending notification to my phone, I know, right, I've got the best part of, 8, 10, 12 hours to get home, fill that back up again. And touch wood, it's never ran out once yet because I'd get the notification to there. So if it's not something that you're going to be looking at all the time, how often do you open the sump doors to check your RO level? Wasn't something I was doing day to day. So I bought that and it's been
yeah,
brilliant, to be fair. And when that one goes off, I just check all the other tanks to make sure they're okay. And yeah, it does the job, to be fair.
yeah. I
So
mean, that's the good thing about the Tunzi ATO that Steve goes off about alarming about how noisy the pump is. But when the level's too low and it's not pumping water, it bleeps. So you get an audible alarm when the water. And I set the level quite high in the return chamber. So if it runs out of water and I'm not around, it will still be okay. It won't drain. It'd have to be quite a long period of time. So so that works really, really well. I mean, obviously, no good if I'm not here, of course. But if I'm away, I would top it up anyway. But I like that as an ATO. I know the pump is quite noisy, but it does have some fail safes that if the pump is it's got a sensor, so if it goes below that point, it does. And if it's too high, it bleeps, and if it's too low, it bleeps. So that's helped. But on this one here, the ATO is really small. I mean, I don't think I've topped it up today. I've got no idea how long it's going to last. I reckon if it lasts 3 days, it would have done well.
is it a gravity fed ATO, that one?
Yes. So all the Red Sea ones are. It's got exactly the same kind of float switch as all the other ones have. And I used it on the 450. I never replaced that at all, other than when I went away. So I don't want to modify the tank at all. I want to keep it exactly how it is and see how easy it is to run. So that could be a bit of a pain if it needs an auto top off every 3 days. That I've got to fill the container up, but we'll see. We'll see.
Just to go back to the comments, I've missed quite a lot here, I think. So UK Reefer said, add 85 litre container with RO once a week, 1 scoop of Calc per 4 litres, and that doses for a week. Never have to mess with it. So it does seem pretty simple, to be fair.
Yeah. So basically, whether it's replacing the evaporation at 8 litres a day or say 10 litres a day, you don't adjust it and it just goes in, which makes sense because let's face it, those 2 or 3 litres, if that's the difference of variations, it's not going to make any difference with the size of tank you've got. If you've got an 85
I'm sure he's got
RO, did I see? Yeah, I'm sure I saw in the car the other day. You've got 7-foot tank. Let's face it, 7-foot tank. Whether that's 7 foot. So how many litres is that? 7 foot. What's that going to be about? 1,200. Depends on the dimensions, doesn't it? Yeah. So let's face it. Say it's 1,200 litres. Whether it's putting in 8 litres or 14 litres, that's a drop in the ocean. Pardon the pun. Compared to the litres on that set, doesn't make any difference.
So in regards to your question earlier, traces wise, so Coral Essentials trace A, B, and C, then bromide, boron, potassium, and manganese on top.
So basically, it's a full range, isn't it? More or less.
But I know, I mean, I've spoken to him several times about it all, and I know he highly rates doing it that way. I mean, it seems to be it seems, for me, it looked like a science, and I'm going, oh, this is too complicated. But I think when somebody breaks it down to you and shows you what's involved with it, it does seem really good. I mean, the comments UK Reef Pro Calc slurry controlled by pH works to treat. Don't worry about alk anymore. I know Carol said there that he used it for years but can kill your pumps faster. But I know UK Reefer said that it's November, not cleaned anything, you know, so there's definitely not an issue, I don't think, with it. Still leave an ATO on a smaller container with RO and lower the calc dose a touch just so the ATO still kicks in. You won't notice when evaporation changes then. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems to be a very, very popular.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think compare that to a calcium reactor. So I had a calcium reactor running in the tank for about 3 years, and I found that really easy to use. But then I didn't use a pH probe. I used it as a dosing pump. I had a Kamara pump on it running not 24/7. I put it on a timer. So I did the time exactly like you would with dosing. But I know other people that use calcium reactors with a pH probe.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but then calcium reactors seem to reduce your pH, whereas the calc increases your pH. So again, it's two different methods, both work for different people. And I know some people, when they look at a calcium reactor, they go, "Oh my god, that looks really complicated." Because again, you've got wires all over the place, and then you read about it, and people talk about how complicated it is, and it's one of those where I didn't find it that complicated at all. And how I set it up. And again, with Calc, so it sounds, people say, oh, it's crash tanks and things like that. But then anything can crash a tank, can't it? But definitely seems to be more and more popular, for sure.
I mean, so UK Reefer's come back there and said his tank is around 1,000 litres and he's adding 4.6 litres per day. So, and his final part one of that.
So if you look at 4.6, if even that went up to 7 or 8 or 9, compared that to 1,000 litres, it's nothing. It's it's not going to have an impact on the tank, or it shouldn't have when you've got that small amount compared to that.
There's kind of what we said earlier, old school, easy reefing for the win.
Yeah.
Crash tank on Calc, you need to add loads. So yeah, it does seem that's a more popular way of going back. I have I'm going to put him on the spot here, but I have asked UK Reefer before if he'd join the live. So maybe one time he'll pluck up the courage and join us and do a wee discussion on the Calc. So we've got to put you on the spot and UK Reefer on the spot tonight, Paul. I'm doing well. Yeah, hopefully he'll join us sometime and can discuss it. No, he did used to do YouTube videos. I don't know if he's done any for a while yet, but done some good ones there. So yeah, fingers crossed. Right, let's go back. I think we're actually caught up on the comments, to be fair. That one seemed to go for quite a while.
Yeah, there's another comment by Carl as well about overdosing. I think that's the thing you just got to watch and make sure you don't overdose, which I suppose if you're using a pump could fail, but I suppose it was foul by going super fast or just dumping loads in there. It's a bit like when people had problems with auto top-offs and they fail and it just dumps all your RO into it. So I suppose that's what it could do. I suppose if you're using RO and it dumps the whole lot in it, that could cause a problem. But then, let's face it, pumps fail, power heads fail. It's all about that, and then the redundancy that you have, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. After the watershed. So there we go. We've got it in writing here. Yeah, I'll join you at some point, lads. YouTube needs to get back on too. Work's been crazy. Working well watching this. Again, that's dedication for you, mate.
Thank you. Yeah, it'd be great. Once the summer's over, we'll get some more guests on.
Yeah, we probably should actually, shouldn't we? When things pick up again and we get more people back and engaging with the chat, shall we say, we'll get a few more guests on, because I know we've spoke previously about getting some different ones on, so we'll see what we can come up with for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in terms of obviously your tank, Ross, you've left it for a while.
Yes.
What's your plans over the next few weeks? Because I mean, obviously you've left it, which is good in a way, because that tank, the bigger tank, that's going to be nice. It's going to be well settled. You haven't been throwing loads of stuff in it, so you haven't got an imbalance in there. You've probably got some decent levels of bacteria in there. And has it been for an ugly stage or not yet?
So it went through an ugly stage, not the worst ugly stage I've ever seen in my life, to be fair, but it did go through one. And it's got a bit of kind of cyano and that about it just now, but nothing major, to be honest. I did go a bit heavy with the cleanup crew when I put a cleanup crew in. I put quite a lot in, expecting there to be quite a bad, ugly stage, thinking, they'll help out, they'll keep things under control. I didn't want to go down the whole hair algae scenario again. And touch wood, it seems to have done okay, but like I say, I haven't really added anything to it. I've let it kind of do its own thing. I've still got the 2 fish in it and a selection of very, very easy corals in there, nothing difficult at all. So as for plan, genuinely, I don't have a plan, mate. My plan was to kind of start stocking it with what I had suggested at the start, but I think I'm going to take things very, very, very slowly with this tank now because, you know, I got so excited to set it up, then I had all the disappointment with Waterbox letting me down and all the issues that I had with it, and then I kind of lost the drive of the tank a bit, and then I got it set up and I got that back again, and then I was set back. So now I'm at a stage where I'm thinking, right, I'm back to it, but I don't want to jump in both feet first. I want to try and do things slowly. So, yeah, I'm going to hopefully take my time with it and just start slowly adding in a couple more easy bits, get the Zoa garden going, get things moving on that, and then, you know, I'll branch out to, I know I said I'd put some SPS in the top bit and so on. So yeah, I'm gonna try all that. I've got everything there. I haven't even, the skimmer's not even been switched on yet or anything. I've left it just basically running as it is. So
yeah,
I haven't, I mean, I probably could switch the skimmer on now, to be honest, but there's not a massive bioload in there. I've only got 2 little damsels in a tank that size, so
yeah, you don't really need it.
So
yeah, I must admit, I've turned the skimmer on this, but it's really loud. 1, because you need to break it in, and 2, I haven't put the little silencer on it. But I'm women and ahhing because I don't think I'm going to have more than, I think, 4 fish max, and 4 fish in 100 litre. I mean, obviously it depends on the size of fish, but I am wondering whether I'll end up with using a skimmer or not. I mean, I might do just because the skimmer's there, but if I haven't got a heavy bioload, I know it does. A skimmer pulls out crap, not just the crap that you can see. There's other stuff that we don't test for that it's useful to pull out.
yeah,
So, but I'm undecided on that side. Not because I'm trying to save electricity, although that'd be great. I just want to see. I want to keep a real minimal tank and running on as few parts as possible.
yeah,
I mean, to show to myself, because I've always had all the bells and whistles and stuff like that, but also really how easy it is to run a tank in terms of you don't need, to your point, buy loads and loads of different stuff. And that includes, you know, 80 to 100 quid on an auto top off. That long, if you're prepared to fill it up every 3 days and you can clean it. And actually it's really easy to clean. You pull out the little compartment and it's underneath. So I could either just get it, dump it in citral acid, clean it, and so that keeps the float valve nice and clean. So I that's why I want to do that. It is really easy. I mean, Jill she doesn't like the tank at all. She goes, "Why did you get rid of the 5-foot tank? The 5-foot tank looks a lot better." I don't understand. This one stands out more than the other one. What a waste of money. So she can't wait to get the decorating done to get a big tank.
Yeah. Thing is, though, I bet you'll find that, you know, she'll come round to that, and when it starts getting coral in it and fish in it and so on, I bet she'll probably come round and go, "Do you know what? I really like this now."
Well, what it is,
just get the point when you're ready to change it.
Yeah, what it is, she likes a yellow tank, and she likes looking at all the wall of fish and stuff like that. So if I only end up with 2 or 4 fish in there, which I will, she's going to say that's a bit boring, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, when you've compared a 5-foot tank that had loads of wrasse and yellow tang and all that swimming around and a sea of colour, because she likes the fish more than she likes the coral. So when you see that, I get a point. You've got all these lovely colourful fish that are out in the open, and you've got like a pair of clowns and something else. You'd say, really? So yeah, but it's a temporary. I say a temporary tank. It's there until the building work's done, but that probably ain't gonna happen until next year now, because trying to get a builder is like gold dust at the moment.
It's not just that, mate. It's pricey materials as well.
Well, yeah, the longer it goes on, I mean, the longer it goes on, could prices go up? I don't know. It depends what happens elsewhere, doesn't it? But I'm hoping that things get themselves sorted out and prices come down. But then, you know, could be pigs flying before then.
But on this one again, so without opening a can of worms on this one, when you're talking about, you know, energy saving and so on, I was having a discussion with somebody the other day about that, and there is, I mean, if you want to keep running, I know a lot of people are shutting their tanks down because they just can't afford to run them. It's one of those, for me, this is a cheap hobby compared to other ones I've done. So I'm not shutting my tanks down. I'm leaving them running. I'm not going to bow down to them putting the prices up. But if you were really wanting to, you could cut out a lot of the gadgets, like we said. You could go back to manually topping up. You could go back to doing a lot of things manually. You could, you know, you could save so much by turning your heat down a little, turn your lights down a little. You could do so many different things that saves it. So I see people all the time saying it's just too expensive, I'm shutting the tank down. And I just think there's so many other ways that you could go around that. Plus, there's probably loads of things in your house that use way more energy than the tank does.
Yeah, because when I look at it, that light, I don't know how many watts, but it's not much. It's the 50 LED. I don't believe that's running a lot. If I didn't run the skimmer, okay, there's nothing there. So at the moment, I've got the return pump running and the lights. Obviously, I'll have a heater on it, and I think I'm going to go for 100-watt heater. I don't think I need more than that. I had a 200-watt heater on a 450-litre tank.
Yeah.
So 100 should be good enough on 100.
And
then I have a controller on it and stuff like that. And I run my tanks at about 25 normally. So even before that, I always run mine at about 25 degrees. I don't know why. I just do. So if you do that, and then you don't have loads of hard corals, you have easy corals. That makes sense as well, because then you don't have to dose so much. Once your tank gets beyond 12 months, you don't necessarily have to do water changes, but 10-litre water change in there. A bucket of salt, you can get about the Red Sea ones. You can get probably about 640 litres out of that. So that's like 64 changes. So that's a year worth of salt. So
I was going to say that. So on my little peninsula there,
yeah,
obviously I use the Tropic Marin Pro Reef salt, and a bucket of that will last me well over a year for doing water changes and that every week on that tank. So
yeah,
people say, oh, it's so expensive for salt. I get that. 70 quid is a lot of money for a bucket of salt. But when it's lasting you over a year and you're doing 60 water changes potentially, it's not a lot of money.
Yeah. I suppose it depends how tight is tight. So therefore, if you really got to cut down to the bone and get rid of it, absolutely. But there's other things that you could cut back on before you do. But then if you've got a 750-litre tank or a 450 and you've got loads of stuff and you've got heaters and all that, that definitely means my electricity bill, I'm on a fixed rate, on a fixed tariff. I didn't realise until the end of next year. So my electricity won't change. So actually, I should see the cost of my electricity go down, because obviously I got rid of stuff that I can't remember how many plugs I had on this tank. I had 2 Apex bars full, so that's 12 plugs. Plus I had some others. So I must have had at least 14 plugs on it. Not everything was running all at the same time. So like the doses obviously weren't running all the time. But I had 3 lots of lights, 2 big power heads. I must have a lot in terms of electricity on that. So yeah. But I know other people do manual dosing. Just seeing Cole, I know he does a lot of manual dosing on that. But again, if you have a lot of soft corals in that, you don't necessarily have to dose. You do your water change. I mean, some people do, because you do need to. But again, you can manage it, so therefore you don't need to do calc.
I've never dosed anything in any of my tanks to this day, and that's me, 18 months down the line, probably more than that now, and never dosed. But again, I don't run any corals that really require that.
Yeah, but you did do the water changes. So each week you was topping up the alkalinity, and you was replenishing that, and obviously taking out some of the other nutrients as So it makes a difference.
It's still doable, but I mean, like the guys are saying, dose RO by hand, you can do it all. So there is ways to get around it. And
so on my first tank, I dosed by hands, but it's really weird. I had a 135-litre tank, and I used to wait until it got all the way down, and then I used to put 10 litres of RO in at a time. The reason why I know, I still got the yellow bucket, and it's a builder's bucket, and it's got like the marks on it of 5 litres, and it always used to be 10 litres. So I think what I used to do, I used to let it go down from like 135 obviously to 125, and then whack 10 litres of RO in there, and the corals were fine.
Yeah.
And I wondered why I used to salt, but clearly I wouldn't do that now. So you'd top it up on a daily basis. But I don't know how. Maybe I was topping up on a weekly basis. I don't know. But the little return chamber, you'd see that going all the way down, and I think about, what was you doing? I used to think that was great. I used to think it's acceptable and it weren't a problem. And that was when I first got a tank. But I mean, the corals seemed to be okay. Nothing died. I don't think things died because of it.
No.
So it's interesting how you learn over the years as well, because I wouldn't even dream of doing that now. I wouldn't have a tank without, I personally wouldn't manually dose the RO, because I know I'd forget.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I struggle sometimes. So obviously, I don't have an ATO on the little Pico tank. But to be fair, there's very little evaporation on that, and
You
there's
got a
just
lid though, haven't you? Yeah.
yeah, I've got the lid, so there's very little evaporation on it. And even at that, I use the little, little kind of squirter bottles. I just use them to squirt some water in when I need to. So it's really effortless with that one, to be honest. But
Yeah.
I think if somebody was starting out in the hobby and said, what would you say was an essential thing to make it easier, would be the ATO.
Yeah. And
Make it easy.
the temperature controller as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Because obviously you can get a heater with a temp controller on it. Sometimes I think it's quite hard to set exactly what temperature you're setting it to when you've got the little dial on.
Yeah.
But also, again, it's a really good reminder. I mean, my two are bleeping away in the garage. And sometimes I just turn them off if it goes on for too long, because I know the tank's hot. But I think those kind of things are essential. So I will put a temperature controller on there. I'm thinking of getting, I mean, I don't know if I get a DD one. You've got the Inkbird, haven't you?
So I've got both. I've got the DD and the Inkbird. So that tank, the little Peninsula, runs the DD and the Inkbird, and the big tank's just got the Inkbird on it. And I'll be honest with you, I'm really, really impressed with that. I think it's a brilliant bit of kit.
So how is the Inkbird different to the DD controller?
So the Inkbird has dual redundancy. So it's got 2 temperature probes, and it's got 2 outlets for a heater. So basically, you could plug 2 heaters into it and the 2 temperature probes into the tank, and you've got dual redundancy basically. So you'll keep one heater on, one heater won't be used. Excuse me. You've got 2 probes which measure at the same time. If there's a differential between the 2 of them, it'll let you know. The big thing for me with the Inkbird one is the Wi-Fi. So there's an app on my phone, sends a notification to my phone to tell me the tank temperature's too high. You set all that up. I can go in at any point and monitor that. There's a graph you can trend and so on. So yeah, it's really, really good that way. Excuse me. The only issue that I find with it is it doesn't have, my one anyway, it doesn't have the option for cooling fans.
Right, so yeah, whereas the DD, you can only put one heater on it, but you could have a cooling fan on it. So you've got both for heat and for cooling. But I do like the idea of the redundancy. So how does that work? So do you set each probe to a different temperature, or how does it work? So how does you know? Say one failed. How would the other one then kick in?
So it then senses that there's a differential between the 2 temperatures. So it then tells you that you've got a probe failure, and it'll use the single probe, but it alerts you to say there's a probe failure. Same if your heater fails, it'll switch over to the other socket and uses that one. Do you know what I mean? So you have
So what I've done before when I have had 2 heaters in the tank is I've set them at different temperatures. So I've done one that will only come on if it goes below 24 degrees. And if it's above 24 degrees, then it's switched off. So that way, if it comes down to 24 or 25, it really doesn't matter. Because your tank's not going to die at that. You could set it at 23 and it's still going to be fine. So that's how I've done it. But I do like the idea of having that automation that it can sense that. So I mean, I've got a spare DD controller, so I might put it on there. But I am tempted by the Inkbird just to try something different. And like you, I can then compare the 2, because I've got in the garage, I've got 2 of them. I had a spare one. I don't know why I've got a spare one, but I have a spare one, so I could just stick that on there. But I mean, Steve's going to laugh. I've actually got to have to buy a heater, because as you know, the last tank, I had one heater that lasted me 7 years, and he had a fix. I know he replaces his heaters every year, but I went out to the shed to find a heater, but they're all knackered. You know, one of them I've trod on the plugs. I'm just really messy, and the others are cracked. So I can't believe it. I'm going to have to go out and buy. I can't remember the last time I bought a heater, so I'm going to have to go and buy a heater. It's quite small ones. I'll speak to Jay to what heater he's got on that, but I'm going to buy one.
So you could probably just get the little. So I would say get the titanium one and get. I think is it 50 watt? We'd probably do that, or maybe even 100 watt.
I think I'm going to go 100 watt. I usually go for the glass ones. I don't know why, but I could go titanium. And the reason why I go for the glass ones is you've got redundancy, because on the glass ones you usually got a temperature switch on it. So I'll have you've got the DD controller, whatever you've got, but then you've got the backup of what's on the temperature probe itself. But yeah, I might try an Inkbird. I don't know. We'll see.
I would admit, especially for the cost of them, the fact that you get even if you don't use it for control and you use it for indication, which means, you know, you're getting a notification to your phone to say your tank's at this temperature, you better do something about it. That,
Yeah.
I mean, I know you had Apex and so on that would do that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, and I have got actually I've got Apex, so I could put the Apex on it. But it's a bit extreme sticking the Apex on there.
yeah,
I'm not going to bother because I could easily
I
set it
mean,
up, but I don't want to.
I
To be
think
fair,
using the Inkbird, to be fair, is if you've not got a requirement for the auto cooling, but I mean, it's going to send you a notification to say your temperature's starting to rise. It's
yeah,
then giving you enough time to go and set up fans or put them on or whatever you
yeah.
want to do. So, and to be honest with you, we get what 2 or 3 weeks out of the year where we have to use cooling fans. Maybe slightly different for you, but it's not drastic. I don't think.
Well, I've never used cooling fans on there. I mean, the most I did was when it was 40 degrees, I put the ice bottles
Yeah,
of water in. Other than that, I've not had to because whilst the temperature does get hot in here, it's quite a cool house. If you keep the doors and windows closed and the
okay, yeah.
curtains closed, it's pretty good. So I haven't had to worry like a lot of people have to. But yeah. So what's in the chat? Yeah, I think I might go for the Inkbird.
I would try it anyway, mate, and see what you think. It's certainly, I mean, I know they're very popular in America, but they seem to be taking off a bit more over here now. And like I say, I've got the two of them, and I cannot fault them.
Yeah.
They just seem to be very good. It's the Wi-Fi is the biggest thing for me, but you get different versions. But so there was somebody. Let me just see.
I'll say just one thing because what I'm going to do with the light. I've got the light set, but I'm either going to switch it off altogether or I might put it on a timer. Have you got Wi-Fi plugs? So I'm looking for a good recommendation. So I might get a couple of Wi-Fi plugs and either run it off of that. So I don't want to have to keep on adjusting the lighting because when I switch it back on, I'm going to ramp it up at 15 minutes a time. What I might do is rather than messing around, just get up my schedule and then use a Wi-Fi plug to go 15 minutes, 30 minutes and do it that way. I'm undecided. So if you've got any recommendations on that.
Well, I don't because the Wi-Fi plug that I bought was actually a Wi-Fi extension cable. Right. So it was like, you know, the extension sockets and you could control it all off your phone.
Okay.
Which was great. But they randomly started cutting in and out all the time and they were terrible. So I ended up sending it back. I didn't use it.
Okay.
So what I use now is it's for the little Pico actually is the one I use it on. And it's a little Wi-Fi plug, but it's the USB plug. So it's just like a USB so the extension cable I've got for that's got 2 USB slots in the end of it.
Yeah, of course it's USB, but yeah.
And
I need a proper plug to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe somebody in the chat can recommend a few for you, but
yeah,
Wi-Fi plugs isn't really one that I had much success with.
I'll have to have a look. Yeah, so anyone uses Wi-Fi plugs, just to enable it to switch it on and off.
There'll definitely be some good ones.
Yeah, I'm sure
there.
There's some. Yeah, absolutely.
But Andy's Reef had a good one about saving money. He put this up. The wife will go before I shut down my tank. So I'm hoping that Andy's wife isn't watching this, or that could have just got really awkward. So hopefully he's not got that on the TV in the living room.
Yeah. Or he might be going before the tank.
Yeah. Dan says maybe cheaper too. So yeah, I think that could be it. There's a good one from Steve. Set the temperature using the heater and the heat controllers are fail safe.
Yeah. So, that's what done. Yeah. Makes sense. Which I don't think you can do with the titaniums. I don't think the titanium heaters have a control on them. It's just the glass ones. I mean, it's one of those things. Some people would not dream of buying the glass ones because they shatter. But touch wood, I've never had that either on a freshwater or a marine. Have I had? That's going to happen now, isn't it? I've had it shatter before. But then you hear stories about the titanium. There was one, the Aquamedic ones. This was going back a little while. They would go rusty. And people had problems because you put metal into the obviously into the sun, into water, which is not helpful. So again, it's one of those. I've actually got titanium ones because I use it to heat up when I kind of heat up water, I use the titanium one just because I got it with a tank. But I must admit, when I buy a heater, it's usually a glass one.
Mm-hmm. I use glass ones in all my tropical tanks, but for some reason when I started the saltwater world, everybody said, you need the titanium heater. So I went out, followed the sheep and bought the titanium heater and a controller. So that was the only reason I bought one was because everybody said that's what you need. But yeah. So Carol's asking how the frogs are. There's no point in me showing you because the lights are off, but they are still in that tank there. But lights are off, so you won't see them. But they're doing good, mate. What else have I got here? DD don't make the. Oh no, sorry. Before I jump on that one, there's a free the crab. We've not had that in a long time.
Yeah, that is a
Crab,
blast from the past, isn't it?
the crab. That's the OG fans of the live stream will be able to recognise that one. The crab is still free and it's still in the new tank here beside me. So
I'd forgotten about the crab. I mean, that went on for ages, didn't it? There was T-shirts and all kinds of things. I mean, you know, you was getting trolled about the crab, about abusing the crab.
Sticker free the crab and everything as well. It was, I had the T-shirt. Yeah, the free the crab thing went on for a long time.
That ran for a while on Instagram and everywhere else. I'd forgotten about that. That was quite funny.
So yeah, the crab's still free. It's not doing any hard time anymore. It's in the big wide world.
See, there we go. It just shows you behind bars, rehabilitation, and it all works. If there is an example, you can point to the crab that learned and done time.
I should have a children's book or something about that, shouldn't I? The crab who learned to stop being abusive.
To stop killing.
Stop killing everything, eating everything, wrecking the tank.
Yeah, once a murderer, not always a murderer.
It's a model citizen in there now. It's perfect. A quick jump back. Techers Reef has said, DD don't make the 100 no more, only the 150, Paul. So that probably rules out your titanium one, I would say.
Okay.
So that's the kind of Shago ones, I think, or
yes.
DD
but also, I think it's have to be quite a small heater. Because I was looking where you put it in there, and the sump's fairly small, and I think it has to go below the skimmer and go horizontal. So I think it's have to be quite a small one. Not as many, but that may. The titanium ones, I think, are usually smaller than the glass ones, so that might prompt what I end up doing. I think, but we'll.
I mean, you could put a 150 in there; it just wouldn't be used as much, would it?
It shouldn't be, because it would keep the water quicker, wouldn't it? So it would switch on and off quicker. Well, it should do, wouldn't it? Because when it kicks in.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm mixing up my salt water, so I mix it up in one of the salt buckets, like the actual Tropic Marine Pro bucket. So that makes about 20 litres, 25 litres, give or take. And I use a 300 watt heater to heat that because purely I just don't want to sit and wait. Yeah, so actually I use the 300 watt heater for that, and it heats it in, I don't know, I'm taking it from room temperature to 25.6-ish, probably in around 20 minutes, I would say, because by the time the salt's all mixed, it's ready to go, and I chuck it straight in. So because I don't keep any pre-mixed salt, I'll mix it all as I'm doing my water change. It's the quickest way. I mean, even this is the big confession. Even when I do the 10 litre water change on the peninsula, I still use the 300 watt heater in that bucket. So I've got a 10 litre bucket with a 300 watt heater in it. The only problem is you've got to be quite cute with it because it overshoots. Yeah, it overshoots. So you end up with the water shooting up to like 27 degrees, and you're thinking, well, I'm going to have to wait a wee bit before I add this now because it's a bit too warm. But yeah, so 300 watt does for me. So back to your question, Backshire Reefer has just said.
Bought some from Amazon.
So maybe you can drop me a link for that one, mate.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to just drop me a link on Instagram, because I'm sure there's going to be a whole variety of them. But if it's worked for you, then I'm happy to take your recommendation. So thank you.
Fish No Chips uses a Wi-Fi bar, so similar to what I used, but I had to send mine back because it was terrible. Reef King's on his way home now, so that's been a quick little shift for him. John Wright said, hope you all have 2 heaters and controllers, not just one. So I technically do have 2 controllers on one of the tank, but only use 1 heater on it, which kind of completely defeats the purpose. But I only have 1 heater in that tank as well. So I've got a dual redundancy controller with 1 heater plugged into it, which seems really strange. I probably should buy a second one, but I've just never done it.
I've never run I say never. For a short period of time, I've run 2 heaters in the tank over there, but I decided it wasn't necessary. And I rely on the fact of the temperature dropping and then the alarm going off. And then I've got a spare 200 watt one down there that I can use. But I have backup to the power heads because I've got battery backup. So if there's a power cut, If a heater fail, I've got no backup, but I rely on the fact that it'll take a while to go down, and I can just replace it.
Well, I always went with the tropical tank. So when a heater fails, I pull the camping gas stove out the garage, I heat up some water, put it in a bottle, and sit it in the tank, the same as I do with the frozen water. So
yeah,
you know, if you've got a power cut or something, that's the way that I would go about. But yeah, your flow's probably a killer. But where do you stop? That's the question. I mean, so you have 2 heaters, you have 2 controllers, do you have 2 return pumps, do you have 2 wave makers, do you have 2 of everything? There's got to be a point where you draw a line and say, do you know what? If it fails, then I need to live with that.
For me, if you look at it, the heat fails, it takes a while for the temperature to go down. In the middle of winter, it's going to take it down low, and the tank's probably going to be dead.
Yeah.
If your light goes, it's different. 4 days made no difference. If your flow goes, I suspect that's out of heat, flow, and light. Flow is the thing that's going to kill the tank quickest out of those 3. So the good thing about the Ecotech pumps is you got a decent battery backup. Now I know they're expensive, but I had the same battery backup for 6 years, and I tested it every month, and it still worked for at least 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah.
So of all of them, that would be the thing that I would back up out of those 3 things of heat, light, and power head. It would be the flow that I think is the most critical. If it goes, your tank goes. I think. I don't know if other people think differently, but that's what I've found over time.
Especially on a sump system as well. That's the biggest thing, isn't it?
I think on either of them, because even if the flow was to go on that, the fishing of that would struggle. But the big tanks, if the heater goes, then obviously it takes longer for the temperature to drop.
Oh yeah.
And so therefore you've got more redundancy because of the amount of water you've got. Because I found that the 450, with the temperature going down, it would take ages for the temperature to drop. And likewise, when it's warm, it takes a while for it to go up, but then it takes bloody ages to come back down again.
Yeah. So I'm going to fly through the comments because I feel like I've missed quite a lot here, mate. So MK Reefer has said Tapo or Tapo, I don't know how to pronounce that, Wi-Fi plug, been using them for 18 months and they're great. I've heard people mentioning those ones before.
I'll make a note of that one. Thank you.
Techers Reef has said Argos Paul 12 plug TCP are the best ones. So another one.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that.
So Steve Webb said Aquil Ultra Heater 150 watts, but I use them 100 litre and it's not glass. It's flat as well, so it goes in an all-in-one.
Okay. So just go back on that comment and I'll take a photo of that one. I'll just take a photo of the other
That's the Aquil Ultra Heater 150 watt.
Okay, I'll have a look at that. Thank you. Cheers, Steve.
I'll come back to Exotic Sharks comment in a minute. Howard says the crab's been allowed out from solitary to general pop, Ross. Yep, sure has. No more exercises out general pop, back doing its thing. Haley's back. Hello, Haley. Well, I say Haley's back. I'm back. Hello, Haley. Good to see you again.
So I owe Haley a public thank you. She was admin last week, or mod last week on the live stream, because there was no way I could cope with looking at the screen from 6 feet away, looking at the comments, asking Paul questions, and see if we was being trolled. Haley, I don't think we was trolled, was we? I didn't see any comments, and you didn't say anything. So I think there's only one. So I think Steve, one of Steve's last streams, there was someone who was on there, and there was 2 or 3 comments. I think touch wood, that's the only trolling we've had, other than the odd comment by our regulars. Oh
yeah, we get them,
which is fine.
Howard said, have a 150 watt titanium and 75 gallon Red Sea Max Nano. It's vertical in the skimmer chamber and all good. Doesn't actually work that hard, but would fit horizontally in the rear chamber if you wanted to.
Okay. Thank you. So does that mean, Howard, you don't run the skimmer, or is it to the right of the skimmer or underneath the skimmer? I must admit, I haven't really looked at it. I just know it's a small area, and I haven't found a skimmer, a heater that works. So I just need to work it out. It's no big deal. I'll sort it out. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see, because it's the same size.
Tony Close UK Reef said, hello everyone, catch up on the Reef to the night shift. Hello, mate.
Hi, Tony. And thank you for watching the videos. He's watched, I think, virtually all of my videos, and he's been commenting on it. So thanks, Tony.
Because it pops up saying he's commenting on a video, and I go,
yeah,
video with that one.
I know, it's kind of thumbs up or the odd comment on there, so thank you.
I must admit, again, I haven't replied to the comments on my YouTube videos. I need to go and do that. I've been falling behind on everything, so I will do that. Yeah, Reef King said titanium, use a controller.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just heat and you'll boil.
He's also said he's got a 200-watt titanium heater if you need it, mate. Can bring it to the reef meet.
Okay, thank you.
Oh no, he said sorry, it's 300 watt. I think that's maybe a bit.
That's going to be. And also, I mean, I don't need a heater at the moment, but I will in a few days. So, and also, I need the heater because I'm going to start cycling it. I need to keep it at some kind of manageable temperature. But thank you anyway, Carl.
Steve Webb says B&Q are doing TCP Wi-Fi plugs, 2 for £20. That's another one that I've heard of before, Paul. TCP. So take a note of that one.
That's the antiseptic, isn't it?
It is, mate. Yeah, the weird smell about it.
Yeah, like, you don't hear about that so much nowadays. Yeah, that's a bit of off topic, isn't it? TCP, it stunk. When I was a kid, we had it all the time. But
we've done well not to drift off topic tonight. So that TCP one's been the first.
An antiseptic, and once it was on your skin, you stunk of it for hours. But anyway, right, back to the chat.
Yeah, they said, yep, well-behaved crowd last week, so everybody done well. Thank you very much for that. So I'm going to go back to exotic sharks question for one here. And it's, what was your first coral? Good question. So, Paul, what was your first coral? Can you remember that far back?
Yeah, it was 2. I bought a Xenia and I think it's called radioactive dragonized.
Oh, I've got them. They're nice.
So when I look back on how much I paid for it, so I bought it from, there was an LFS in Great Portland Street, which is just off of Oxford Street. It's not there anymore, but it was a bit weird that I stumbled across a fish place in the centre of London, so just off of Oxford Street. And I went in there. I used to work up there. I used to go in there virtually every day just to look around, and I was fascinated. So I bought the Xenia. I actually paid for Xenia. You can get it free now, and the Dragon I paid for as well. But I think I've still got a little bit of Xenia in the other tank, but the Dragon I haven't got anymore. So I love Xenia. I think it's really, really nice. I think just the way they pop, and I mean, they do spread really, really quick, and they take over a tank. That's the downside. But in terms of the movement and the flow and the way they just kind of pop like that, it's just, there's no other coral that does that. But some people absolutely hate them. But yeah, that was my first 2. I bought them at the same time, so that's like there was 2, which was my first corals, I suppose.
People might think that'd be quite boring, but I actually think, see if you were to get a little nano tank like what I've got behind me there and set it up with just Xenia and a couple of clownfish, I think that would be really, really nice. You know, if you had one big bit of rock just full of pulsing Xenia on it, I think that'd be quite cool to be fair.
You could do Xenia all over the rock, and then either don't have sand, or you do, and have GSP as your sand bed. And you imagine you kind of got the only thing is the rock work, and you got the Xenia, the GSP would want to get on the rock work and spoil it. But you imagine the Xenia all over it, pulsing, and then you got a kind of a green sea around it, just a GSP. I think that'd be quite unique. Trying to keep that in check, or both of them in check, I think would be a bit of a task. But if you could, it'd be quite unique. Yeah, absolutely. And it probably wouldn't be that hard to look after. You just got to keep loads of nutrients in there.
No.
And then make sure that when it's trying to escape onto the rock or off the rock, that you trim it back, and you're salted.
So back to the question, my first coral was actually one that I've still got in that little tank over there, and it was my Duncan. The very first coral that I got was my Duncan, and I actually think it was thanks to Jay, believe it or not, watching his videos at the time, and he said Duncan's a canary in the tank. It's going to tell you what's wrong, what's not wrong, and he's famous saying. So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go out and get myself a Duncan. So that was the very first thing I added, was a little Duncan right in the middle of the tank. And to be fair, he wasn't wrong with that. And it's grown substantially since then.
They are nice, aren't they? And they are easy to look after. You get, nice big heads on them. The flow's really good on them. They're quite colourful. They're easy to look after. Why wouldn't you have a Duncan in the tank, I would say?
I like it because, again, it's the colour and the movement. But also what's quite cool with them is I feed mine's mysis shrimp, but I target feed them mysis. And you drop a wee bit mysis shrimp on it, and you see it sits there, and then all of a sudden it just closes up and eats away at it. And you think it's quite cool to see, especially for an easy to keep coral. You know, we talk about zoas, mushrooms, and things like that. But they're nice and they're colourful, and I really like them. But there's no movement to them. There's no personality is not the right word, but you know what I mean. There's nothing really cool.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Duncan, you can feed it, you can watch it move it, and I just think
you can feed it.
You can. That's the bit that I think's really good.
No,
that was my first one, mate. Not many comments on that actually. Backshot Reefer said his was a red mushroom.
Mm-hmm.
Howard replied to you as well, Paul, saying, so the right of the skimmer as you look at it.
Yeah,
and the
I know what you
glass
mean. Yeah.
So yeah. There was also one that I missed earlier, Paul. I missed it. I've watched it on the screen and saying that there's a mod you can get for the skimmer on eBay for £15.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Find
Yeah, I think I will run it just to see what it's like. But I'm not fussed about running the skimmer on that tank.
There's Tecker
There you
Free.
go.
So he said,
I'll have a look, thanks.
Skimmer on eBay for Peninsula, and he said it was £15.
Yeah,
so.
I've also seen that when you've got the weir and then the flow goes down into a sock, that the water sometimes misses that and it flows over into the skimmer chamber. So some people have got a mod so that it all 100% of the water goes through the sock. But I must admit, I'm not fussed about if everything goes through that or not, because I don't really want to keep the water totally crystal clear. But we see. But there's lots of different mods for it, because I think there's some not design faults. But if you're someone where you want everything to go down your the filter sock, then actually I could understand why you would modify that. But we'll see. But at the moment, I mean, the pump is really quiet, and it's doing as it should do. So first impressions are good.
Yeah, very good. So Haley said that hers was a toadstool, which seems to be a popular one. You hear people saying that before, but it's a coral I've never had, to be honest with you. I've never kept toadstools at all.
No, have I? I mean, outside of zoas and the other mushroom and that, I haven't really got into softies that much. But when you see a tank full of softies, they do look good.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love it, to be honest. And I mean, so Ian said there, every tank needs a Duncan. Totally agree with that. And Haley's also said, I love Duncans, my clowns live in mine. So do mine. My clowns absolutely love the Duncan. They host it. They do not annoy the Duncan in the slightest. The Duncan doesn't mind, puts up with them all day long. They're really happy. It works. I mean, I'm glad they're not hosting torches and they host the Duncan, and that's fine. So
that's a really good point, because I've had them host frog spawn before and they started killing some of the heads. I've had them into torches before and they started killing the heads. They go into Duncans, and as you say, Duncans just totally ignore them. But I've now, when I've gone out into the garage, I find the clown just flat on the chalice, and he just sleeps on the chalice, and you think, oh, that's dead, and then you realise that it's just a clown, and it does it all the time, and all the time it's out there, and underneath the chalice you've got a peacock wrasse, then it gets agitated, that kicks the chalice up, which then means the clown goes all over the place, and then there's dust, there's sound all over. But yeah, it just, one of them hosts the Duncan, and the other one just seems to fall asleep and host. I don't even know how you call it hosting. It just lays as a bed on the chalice. It's bizarre. Yeah. But yeah, Duncans are good for that.
A very good comment from Howard, actually. Duncans are like anemones without the travelling around the tank issues. They pretty much are.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, Damos said, make a Duncan for first coral. I would recommend it. That's what I've done.
Absolutely.
I think it was a good move. It's going to tell you if you have any issues in your tank. Plus, something we've just covered there. So yeah. Howard said his was a blue-tipped hammer, green octospawn, and a Duncan, which had grown so well. In fact, all have. So it's a bold move for your very first coral, but I like
nice mix.
I do like it. What have we got? Backshift Reefer has said, my clowns are hosting my trackie. There you go.
And I'm assuming the trackie's okay about it, because they can be quite sensitive trackies. Yeah,
I would have thought so.
But it sounds like it's okay. You'd have to do something about moving the trachea, I imagine.
Yeah. And Christopher said, "Good to see you back, Ross. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much to everybody who's sent messages and so on. I really do appreciate it. It's been good.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. I mean, when Jay's on here next, he's going to be beside himself. He'll be like a little puppy.
Put it this way, I've had a good few months of unreleased Jay abuse to dish out, so he's in for a sore one next time we're on here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think we're at the end of the calls, aren't we? So how's it felt like being back and hosting? Because we did discuss about throwing you back and you hosting.
I'm not going to lie, mate. It was quite daunting. And last week I thought, right, I'll join you. Then when it said it's AAC, I thought it's probably not the right time to join back in there. It wouldn't have worked right. So I thought I'll stay away last week and join this week. And I'm not going to lie, I was bricking it more this week than I was the very first time we did a live stream for some reason. No idea why. I just thought, I'm dreading this and really, really nervous. But yeah, it's fine, mate. it's one of those things. It's like riding a bike. Once you start it, you get back into it again, and you go, "Yep, it's fine." And I think it was worse because there was only two of us, and I thought, "Oh no, I'm gonna have to keep this conversation going for 2
what
hours."
we're going to
Here.
talk about, I mean, 2 hours is now up because I didn't even realise because Judy's now said it's 2 hours, and I'm thinking, oh my god, where are those 2 hours gone? Because we've just been gassing.
I know. So yeah, it's flew in, but Mother Reef has spoke again. So
She has
2 hours gone. It's good to have Julie back as well. Actually, it is. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and thank you for everyone joining. I can't believe on a lovely evening it's been. You've shared your 2 hours and allowed us onto your TV set, which for me that sounds a bit scary. My mug on a TV.
And me, mate, definitely. Yeah. Honestly, I really do appreciate everybody joining back in. Like I said, appreciate all the comments, messages, and everything that's sent to me the past couple of months. So meant a lot. Thank you very much to everybody. And yeah, hopefully we'll get back on track now, and we'll see you all every week.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where are we next week, Paul? Are we with?
I'm not too sure because the boys are back, aren't they? So I'm not too sure where we are next week.
We'll find out and we'll get a banner.
Yeah, we'll sort something out. Absolutely.
But
yeah,
we'll be back next Friday and we'll see you then. So thanks very much for taking part in the chat, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, have a lovely weekend.
Thanks very much, folks. Take care.